Hi, welcome to the Let It Fly show. I am Michael Severe. We are inside, of course, Let It Fly Sports Bar in the Capital District, one of 3 locations in Omaha, also one in La Vista, and then out west at Let It Fly West. We want to thank our presenting sponsor, as always, Bud Light, for making it easy to drink, easy to enjoy no matter what you're watching, no matter what you're doing. Bud Light makes it easy. Also, a reminder for you, here at the sports bar, you want to do 3 to 6 happy hour or 10 to 1 happy hour. Either one of those, great deals, great specials, great drink specials, including every single day. We've got a different special, including today, we're taping on a Tuesday. That means Taco Tuesday. And of course, Wednesday is Dollar Wing Wednesday. And all throughout the week, great specials here at the Let It Fly Sports Bar in the downtown Capital District. This week, a very special, unique show. It is our NFL Draft Preview Show. And joining me for the preview show is Tim Verghese from Inside Nebraska, a long time, well, you're not that old. So I will say a guy that's been liking the draft for a long time?
Yes, definitely been following this for a while. I think this is what got, for me, the passion in evaluation and scouting, all of that. I think what sparked it was the draft conversations I grew up listening to, grew up watching, and my own, kind of opinions formed as a kid. And as I've grown up, for me now in my current role as inside Nebraska, I get to see some of these guys develop at the high school level and move on. I've covered Texas A&M, covered Michigan, seen a bunch of guys that are now at Texas and all these different programs where, I have a little more context on it. But for me, I think these last few years, what the draft has kind of served as is, again, just something for me to learn. I lean on the guys that do this full time a lot, and then compare my own opinion. So for me, it's a lot of, I'll study someone, I'll watch, and I'll write up my own kind of feelings, thoughts on the guy, and then see how it matches with what the industry's saying, what people, and then kind of use that to calibrate my eye. I try and learn lessons from the lessons we all learn with every cycle on where this is going. I think this draft is a really good opportunity for us to learn some lessons on where the league's going and the trickle down effect of all of that.
Yeah, and we'll get to some of that. You remember the first year that you really remember watching the draft, paying close attention to it?
Yeah, the Manziel year is probably the one for me, just being from Houston, the Texas A&M guy. I think that's the first one I distinctly remember. Before that, it had to be Sue. There was just that draft, that year. I remember the debates on the order between, it was Gerald McCoy and Dominican Sue, right? And those debates, how
that 2010.
Draft. Right. But the first draft I really remember being super invested in was, I don't know, I remember it, but it's had 2016 was the Lamar and Darnold. I remember that one a lot because I was a big Lamar Jackson guy in college, and I kept following him, and I was like, look, you're going to make a mistake if you let him fall out of the first round, and he kept falling, and I've kind of just been riding with Lamar ever since.
Yeah, the Saints traded to come up, and I thought, I wasn't a huge Lamar guy. I still like the way he throws outside the numbers, but he does a lot of great things, and obviously a Heisman Trophy winner, and I voted for him. But I wasn't really enamored with him being the successor to Breeze. And when they moved him, okay, that's who they're taking. And they didn't. They took a defensive end. Nobody trades up to take a defensive end unless, it's in the top 10.
Right.
But anyway, so I thought they were coming to get him, and they didn't. That was a great draft. Let's start with this draft because it's unique. Out of the top 100 players, consensus, only 5 quarterback combined with running backs, 3 quarterbacks and 2 running backs. That's strange.
Yeah.
What are the positions that stand out to you, being those 2 main positions aren't really anywhere in the top 100?
Yeah, I really like this defensive back group. I'm a big fan of it. I think there's a lot of depth to be had in this edge group. Outside of the top guys we're talking about, there's some guys in this group that I just don't think are getting talked about enough. I like the offensive line group as a whole. I don't know if I love the depth attack. That's just an issue across the sport right now, is the depth at offensive tackle. And then I sneaky, I've heard some thoughts on this wide receiver group. I don't know if there's I don't think there's a bunch of guys, in the sense that there's not a bunch, this isn't years past where I think we're going to see 5 receivers in the first round or a bunch of these.
Maybe be 6 or 7.
It's going to be a group, but
it won't be those number 1 guys.
It won't be those number 1 type guys. But I think if as you go deeper into this draft, and as I was really starting to fill out my group on this, there's guys deeper in this draft that I think are good value that can be valuable players. Jacoby Lane's a guy that I don't think is getting talked about enough. I think I know
he's one of the big guys. There's
one
only
of the
about
big
4 big bodies.
And you know what's interesting with him? I I had to check to make sure, but I remember him testing well, and I looked back and I was like, he tested well enough. I don't know where.
Yeah, didn't he run like a 4.41 or
4.41.
Yeah.
So ran 4.4 at that size, and can go outside of his frame and bring a ball. I think he's one of the more sure hands catchers in this draft, and so like him being a mid to late round guy is really interesting to me. I think there's some of these, I saw it on X earlier this week, but there's a lot of these guys that are manufactured touches kind of guy. So you kind of have to pick your poison in that sense. But there's plenty of options to be had.
I think they just all have like a doubt, right? Yes. Every one of them has a doubt.
Every single one.
You can point at Lineman and say, well, he's your number one. And I will point to you what he did against Nebraska.
Yep.
And I will say he had a couple of games like that this year where he just disappeared.
Yeah.
And if he's that good, how does he disappear? And obviously Tyson with the injuries. Tate's the only one that, what is the question mark? Because he played opposite of a very good player?
It's Jeremiah Smith.
I mean, that's the one thing?
Yeah, and that's even one where I've had to come around, I talked with Damon about this on the show last week about, I don't know about him as a one just because we haven't seen it, but he mentioned he's more polished than probably Terry McLaurin was coming out.
Oh, definitely.
Coming out. And, I think the frame as well, you like that. Yeah, he's absolutely a guy I think he's my wide receiver one right now. I think I have him over Lemon.
I'm with you.
I think some people have Lemon above. Again, part of it is just my exposure to Lemon. The one full game I've seen is that Nebraska game.
Yeah.
I've seen a good amount of his reps. I've seen him play.
Right.
He's interesting. But you can see Makai Lemon's a good example of the fact that guy's in those conversations tells you where the league's going with the receivers, what they're kind of looking for at that position, and what they want your number one receiver to kind of do. Everyone's looking for these Pukas now. Everyone's looking for these thicker bodies.
Or a Monera. They're looking for a slot guy who can get 120 targets. Yeah.
Right.
And that's kind of what Makai's 68% of his snaps, if I remember correctly, are in the slot. Mm-hmm. But when they did move him outside, when USC did, they threw deep. Yeah. Or they threw to the end zone with him. So it was like they knew he could be an outside receiver. They're like, well, we can take advantage of you against a lesser corner inside. And that's kind of one of the things you were talking about. The change in the league. So about a decade ago, I remember talking about this with Damon, the heavy nickel came in, right? All of a sudden you had that fifth defensive back who could cover, could be physical in the box. Then all of a sudden it became the heavy dime, right? So now every one of these safeties are like, well, that's great. Which one of you guys can be a joker? Who's the guy that can come down there, be able to rush the passer occasionally, be a Troy Polamalu, be that kind of guy. And that's the new thing in the league. Everybody's searching for that guy.
Right. And
to cover Lemon.
Right. And it's that give and take of the offensive evolution, how that affects the defensive evolution. And those guys, I think, those dimes and even those nickels, I think the guys who can hit and cover at the college level right now are so coveted. And I think at the next level as well, like that's what you're looking for from the corner positions. You're looking for guys with physicality and some natural coverability. I think across all five, you want, at the very least, guys that can hit and guys that can stick in coverage. I think, at the very least, like I think for me, a lot of these, I look at where some of the DBs people have fallen in love with, especially in the safety room. And it's like, well, okay, they're big, they're athletic, all of that. Mm-hmm. Can they cover?
Right.
And then you turn on the tape and you're like, oh, I don't know. Like
Kamari Ramsey.
Ramsey's
like
a guy.
He's
a guy I like as a downhill guy. Actually,
but I wonder if he gets stuck. With a fourth receiver. What's he gonna do? Yeah,
right. And there's some of those guys. I mean, I need to go back and watch all of those different Washington guys because there's so many of them. And really just pinpoint all of them. But I found that coming up with a couple of those guys was, oh, okay, you're big, you're athletic, but in the league, are you going to be able to stick with wide receiver one? Like, you're also big, so you're going to have to be outside. Are you going to be able to stick there? And if we move you back to safety, are you physical enough to hit?
Right.
There's some questions, I think, with a lot of those bigger guys in this draft.
Yeah, big time. Tim Verghese joining us inside Nebraska, talking the draft. Let's do a little numbers game first before we get into some of the players. Mm-hmm. So, I got 8 offensive linemen. Do you agree with that, around that number?
At the top in the first round?
So first round, 8. This is all first round. You think we have 8 offensive linemen?
I think so.
And that includes at least one guard, right, in Vega, but there may be a second guard.
Right.
If it gets us to a second guard, that might get us to 9.
Yeah. Who's your second guard?
So it would either be Blake Miller. Is it Blake Miller?
Miller's the tackle from Clemson.
Okay, so he's a tackle from Clemson. Yes. So it's Vega, and then it's Rutledge. Rutledge from Georgia Tech, who I've watched a lot of because I was trying to get more on Jeep Wade and see him, and he stood out. So Rutledge would be the other guy that you would look at that maybe would go at guard, but at least 8. So that's 8. One quarterback, we agree on that, right? Ty Simpson's not going to go in the first round?
Yeah, and I don't think so.
So that gives you 9 players.
Could you see Arizona sneaking back into the first round?
Well, I
can
see.
Feel like the team that's linked to him, but I don't know if they feel pressure to make a move.
There's a couple teams, right? So would the Jets decide to do it? Are the Rams looking ahead and going, okay, this is the guy for our team? Because if you're going to look at Ty Simpson and compare him to somebody, maybe you could compare him to what the Rams have now a little bit, right? Not overly mobile. Only thing is he doesn't have a lot of starts. And quarterback for the Stafford had a ton of starts in college at Georgia, right? So it wasn't like that. But overall, he is a kind of guy that maybe the Rams could target. You mentioned Arizona. There's the Jets. I don't think you can't take a guy with less than 15 starts. You just can't.
Yeah.
It's proven.
Yeah.
That guy's not going to be good in the league.
Not in the first, not expecting him to start day one and be like, I think there's a world where Ty Simpson is a serviceable NFL starter, potentially on his rookie contract, but I don't know if I see anything more than serviceable NFL starter in there. And that's if everything really comes together.
So here's the problem with that. So he didn't play for 1,000 days when he got to Alabama. Then he played one season, right? So he played 14 games, I think. He played one season. He's going to go to the league, and wherever he goes, he's probably not going to start. He'll be a backup. So sit a whole nother year. So that's 4 years where you only played 1 year. How much better could he get? That's why he should have gone back to college.
Yeah.
It made zero sense for him to come out.
Yeah.
I know next year is supposed to be a better quarterback draft, but if you believe in yourself, go back to Alabama or go to someplace that maybe go to Miami. They'd have paid you money. Yeah. Go to Miami.
That's the other thing. The money I think he would have potentially stood to earn from one more year in college compared to what that second round contract could be. Like he could have stayed to made more money, get more reps, and improve his stock with this time next year.
Yeah. Really the only guy who had limited starts that's actually had a good career was Cam Newton. And Cam Newton had a bunch of starts. You know, he had a full season at Blinn Junior College, right? And then he had the full year at Florida. So that's a little bit different. And he was built differently. And by the way, he wore down physically because he had to play the way he did. Yeah. Ty Simpson's obviously not going to play that way. Right. So we're at 8, 9, 1 running back, or do you think Price could sneak in?
No, I think it's just one.
So we're sitting there at 10 players. Then wide receivers, we were just talking about this. I think 6 for sure. Tate, Lemon, Tyson, Casey Concepcion, Denzel Boston.
I wonder about Boston. I kind of think he slips out.
Yeah. So if he slips out, that leaves you like a Brazil is a guy a lot of people like.
I think, if I had to hedge.
And then Cooper from Indiana, the Indiana wide receiver.
Cooper feels like a really safe receiver prospect.
He does.
Like safe. And I think about what the league wants. I think about, okay, if there is that kind of run and at the back end, you're a team looking for a receiver and you're picking between Brazil or
Cooper.
Boston.
Okay, yeah. So a big guy.
Yeah, right. I think you go with the more explosive, athletic guy than the one. I think Boston's got a lot. He's one, and this is going to be a recurring theme with this draft. Fit's going to matter. I think Fit's really going to matter for someone like this. Yeah. Like the offense he's in, the quarterback he's catching passes from, all of that. Like that's one thing for me with this draft that I love. I've noticed, not that there's an absence of it. I think everyone after the draft just dives into their own whatever team they're a fan of, whatever player they're a fan of, and just dive in on those guys. But I love the post-draft and immediately post-draft examining fits, team fits, because so much of this I think is dependent on that. Like for me, stock in a guy ascends or decreases significantly just based on, and it's simple things as it can be as simple as, oh, that's a good organization that knows what to do with him, or that's a bad organization that he's going to be asked to do a whole lot more than he probably needs to early on in his career. But some of it is just simply, oh, I really like where that guy fits in. Like for offensive linemen, where that guy fits in along the line. For
who's the offensive line coach?
Right, offensive line coach. And some of it for me has been, oh, I really like that guy in that role, learning from that older player. Like I like we've seen that over the years, whether it's quarterback, whether it's and quarterback's a little different, but you want guys in positions where they have someone else in that room to be able to mentor them, and even if it's not necessarily the best player or even comps to them, right? But it's like, oh, there's an old veteran there that I think is going to look out for him.
It happened to me 2 years ago. We were actually, most times friends get together. We were on to Philly this weekend. We were on a Zoom, and we're starting with all the quarterbacks that 2 years ago. And the guy said Bo Nix, and I go, I would never draft Bo Nix. And as soon as he was drafted by Sean Payton in Denver, I was like, oh yeah, he'll be fine.
Yeah.
As soon as he was drafted by the Bengals, don't worry, he'll be fine.
Yeah, that's a fit where it's
because you know he'll make it work.
Yeah, Sean knows exactly.
Yeah, he'll make it work. So we're at 10, and then we add 6 receivers. If we just go with 6, so we're at 16, and then one tight end is 17.
17.
So that's your offensive players. That leaves you 5 rush ends, get you to 22.
Who are those 5 be?
So I got Reese for sure, right?
Yes.
Bailey for sure, Bain, Falk, Mesidor. But a lot of people are putting TJ Parker in there too. So if you throw Parker in there too, that gives you 6.
I would go 5. I think it's one or the other.
So 5,
Yeah.
put you at 22. 2 defensive tackles, 3 defensive tackles. McDonald for sure.
McDonald for
right?
sure.
Peter Woods is getting a lot of talk right now because of his athleticism, because of some of the stuff he does as a run stopper.
I think he wasn't playing. He wasn't playing in the right position.
Right, exactly. Yeah, he actually played nose a lot. Right.
Yeah.
And then, so the other one would be, and who I kind of like by watching this tape, is Kaleb Banks. I think he's got a potential to be good.
Banks, I have some injury. There's obviously some injury stuff, but like the tape that is out there on him.
Yeah.
That is. He's one I've wondered about with like the Texans late.
Oh, okay. If
Caden's off the board, if some of those interior guys are off the board, Caden's one for me that I've kind of penciled in is like, look, if he slips to Houston, Houston I think is rushing up to the.
I think it was Peter Woods who had more yards rushing or something than he had yards actually pressures, which is kind of weird. So you throw 2. Let's say 2. So now we're at 24. 1 off ball linebacker for sure, right? And Sonny. Mm-hmm. So he's 1, and you think Rodriguez might sneak in?
I think the Cowboys could lead to Rodriguez sneaking in. I think he could. I think he could. He could. Yeah.
So that puts you at about 25. 3 corners or 4 corners. So Delaney for sure, McCoy, Terrell, the younger brother, and then maybe another corner.
I would say 3, maybe even 2, because I wonder if the McCoy injury stuff leads to him slipping all the way out of the first round.
He's been recovered enough from that ACL to where he's done workout stuff. So it's not like you haven't seen him at all. I know he missed the whole year.
Yeah, I think I saw something today. There's a concern of him if something pops up again. There's a risk he misses another season. With something else that popped up over the last few days.
Yeah, I thought
that's something with him.
Got it. So that's true. Then maybe 2. I just feel like it'd be hard to. So the one I like,
just off the tape, he's really hard to pass.
Here's the problem with this is that out of those guys, like my extended favorite is the kid from San Diego State, Chris Johnson.
Yeah.
I like Chris Johnson better than any of them. Playing everything, playing zone, man, nickel, everything that you want him to do. But Delaney's probably going to go first. And then that would leave you with 3 safeties, Downs for sure, McNeil Warren.
Yes.
And then Thiemann.
Yes. I think it's those 3.
So just those 3.
I think
there might be a 4th safety. I'm not sure. We'll get to this a little bit later because there's a couple guys. But that puts us right at 32 players with the numbers that we're saying. Which one of those positions would you see outdo our guess? Has the most likelihood to outdo the guess that we have. And I think it's what we were debating on. I think it's the rush ends.
Yeah, like that. I think it's that group because of how do people grade all these guys? Like, again, how do you view...
Who do you like better?
Yeah, how do you view the age of Mesidor compared to the upside of a Falk who's significantly younger, and still kind of figuring it out, but...
He's moving inside.
He's
got to move inside.
Yeah.
He's got to move inside. At his size and what he's growing into, he's got to slide inside.
Yeah.
Almost like maybe Bain slides inside.
I think Bain does too. I think Bain, I don't know if it's slide inside necessarily, but I kind of see Bain better as a 3-down and or a 4-down interior guy than I do as like a 4-down. I don't know if he's a 4-down end.
Like the farther he gets away from the line of scrimmage, the more problem it'll be with his length.
You're right.
And then obviously the closer he moves in. So say he's playing a 4-eye, right? He's lined up there. And then maybe on 3rd down, you spread everybody a little bit more, and it gives him an opportunity to go one-on-one with his quickness.
Right.
And his bull rush.
Right.
So maybe that's a possibility.
He's one I wonder about. I talked about this with Big Master, about his fit along that Kansas City D-line.
I think that's where he goes. If the Saints don't take him at 8, he goes there 9.
Because... I think you put him on. It's not the same because they're not the same player at all. But it's a similar plane to Chris Jones.
Okay. I wasn't thinking as much him. You know, who he reminds me a little bit more of is the Purdue guy for them.
Oh, Karlaftis.
Yeah, I see. I think that kind of first year playing a limited amount of snaps when they need him, and then they get more and more and more than he's a full-time player.
Right. I was more comparing it to the what they did with Jones in terms of getting him and then moving him all over the line to be like that.
Yeah.
And I think
he was the 5 technique coming in.
Right.
That's where everybody thought he would be.
Those two, like Karlaftis, him, and Bain, you've got 3 relatively, you can move those 3 around and figure out best matchups, and you're going to be able to create passers, I think.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see the numbers. And when you start thinking about them, if it is 17 offensive players that go, obviously – a little bit fewer defensive guys, but I think the 2 strongest positions in this draft are rushing and safety.
Yeah.
Right? So you could see more of those popping up. Give me 2 or 3 players. This is a tough question, but 2 or 3 players who you look at and you go, that guy can be a Hall of Famer.
Oh. Should I go with just...
There's some positions that are hard, right?
Right.
Because as much as I think we all like Jeremiah Love, to be an NFL Hall of Famer at running back is work.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you have to have a great career. Is he going to have a great career when in the league now, once you get to that 4th year, the 5th-year option is there, and they don't always want to give you the money.
Right.
So you may end up having to go someplace else like Saquon did, right? So it makes it a little bit harder to make your argument for Hall of Fame.
Yeah. He's one where it's really hard to I think he's going to be productive. I think he's bound to be like maybe even the number 1 offensive weapon whenever he lands. But yeah, like on that note, I think one that feels pretty safe for me is Caleb Downs.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think he feels like, that
because he's smart along with everything else.
He's smart along with everything else. Like, and you watch the play speed on him. Every time I watched Ohio State defense in the season and coming out of it, the team speed across some of those both Reese, Styles, but it was Downs. His ability to fit and come down. Like, I don't think people appreciate enough what he's going to do for a defense at the next level in terms of I think everyone just sees the role he kind of played in Ohio State. You got to dive in on some of the older tape with him. I think you got to dive into the Bama stuff. You got to dive into the highs and lows. But yeah, he's a better prospect than, significantly better prospect than like a Brian Branch coming out. And, and some of these
Brian Branch had more of an athleticism, size, and height compared to what Downs
instinctually and all of that. But I'm so excited to see where Caleb Downs lands and what he does. I think if I had to pick
Let me say about Downs real quick. 2 things about him that I say with people who doubt him. The man started as a true freshman for Nick Saban and led the league and led the team in tackles.
Yeah.
As a true freshman at the position that Saban coached, right? Spent most time with. And then 2 years ago, when Ohio State was having some struggles, they had lost to Michigan. Everybody was like, oh, that's it for him. They're done. They take Downs, they bring him down into the box and go, do what you want. And it completely turns them around for the playoff, and they win the national championship. That was Downs.
Yeah, he's special, man. He's a really special player. It's good to see. I'm a DB guy, and so you just love to see guys that play the way he played. From a young age, you could see the instincts with him. That was something with him very early on. But yeah, Downs is one I think is pretty surefire for me. And I think if I had to go, I'm trying to think where I would go with this.
It's hard. The positions are hard because, like I said, you have to play a long time to be a Hall of Famer. And a lot of these guys don't necessarily have to play as long anymore because of how much money they make.
Right. And I wonder about if we're banking on pure athlete physics, like the NFL is the top 1% in terms of athleticism and all of that. It's an athlete's league. If he can stay healthy, I think Caleb Banks is a guy on the interior.
I think so too.
Like
his skill.
If you talk about upside long term of any of these guys, I love Caden McDonald. He's one of my favorites in this draft. I think. I again earlier today, I could see him going top 10 potentially. I don't think he's actually going to go.
I think he may drop though. I think the love for him was hotter a month ago.
Right.
And I think with the other defensive tackles moving up, I think he's sliding back more to the pack. But
which would make some sense. But for me, my question would be like, okay, if I'm the Giants at 5 or Giants at 10 and Sonny's off the board, or you've taken Sonny or Caleb, your guys are off the board, and
they can get both of them though.
They could.
They could take Sonny Styles at 5 and take Caleb Downs. Imagine that.
Yeah,
that's your first round.
That's what you like. Look,
you're a Giants fan. You're like, what can I expect more than that? I know you need a wide receiver. I know, But I would take that in the first round.
And again, in this draft,
Yeah.
you take those two and you wait second, third round, you'll get a perfectly fine wide receiver. Like like this is a draft where that's okay. But the value of those two guys. But that is what I wonder a little bit if those two guys are off the board, even if they've taken one of them.
Yeah.
At 10, if I'm the Giants and I'm looking across and like what holes do I need to address here? There's a pretty big gaping hole along the interior of the line right now.
Yeah.
And I think Caden McDonald's the type of player who's capable of stepping in and filling into that. But that said, I do think Banks, if he can stay healthy, has the higher ceiling.
Yeah, I think if both of them are gone for the Giants, they'll wait on defensive tackle to round 2, and they'll take a wide receiver, whoever the next one is. Because I think at this point that Tate's gone by 6.
Yes.
Then Tyson goes, or Lineman, and then one of those two guys is still there at 10.
If I'm the Giants, I don't know if I go with Tyson opposite Neighbors. I think I go with Lemon. I think
that's a slot guy, right?
Yeah, or I may even put a Cooper there. And if that's where they're at, maybe they trade down and try and get some more.
Cooper is a really interesting guy because I think people have kind of pigeonholed him into running that one route. But when you go back and you watch him, he was all over the place. And we know what the play he made, obviously, against Penn State and all that. But he just seems to be a guy that I think you can put anywhere, and he's going to make plays.
Right.
He's not limited to being like you were talking earlier about Washington wide receiver Denzel Boston and where he needs to fit. I personally believe that Boston could move inside, right, and play more of a Michael Thomas role.
Interesting. Yeah.
Michael Thomas role inside, but he's got to go to the right team that's willing to throw a lot of RPOs, that's willing to put a big guy inside.
You wonder about him as like a Sutton replacement?
I think he is Sutton. So, see, I know Damon's not a huge fan of Denzel Boston, and I said to him, I'm like, if he just as good as Cortland Sutton, is that good enough for a first rounder? Because that's who I think he is. He's a guy that's he's going to catch everything. He's going to get you a lot of touchdowns because he catches everything above you. And he's going to be a guy that doesn't have a huge depth of target. He's going to have a marginal depth of target because of the routes he runs.
Right.
And that would be good enough for me especially if I'm taking him at like 22 to 30.
Right.
He fit perfectly
22 to 30, I think there's so much on the table, especially in this draft.
Yeah. But he is limited.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but and that's for me where my personal philosophy on the first round is if you have to squint, if you have to put the guy in a role, and again, you're on the clock, and it's Omar Cooper and Denzel Boston. I'm taking the guy that can play in any system.
Sure.
Again, if I'm the GM, I don't know what coach is going to be there next year. I don't know what system we're going to run.
Right.
I would go with the guy, and that's just where I'm at with first rounders. I felt like there was a time where there was a mentality on you bank on the best athletes in the first. You swing on some of these guys, even if you don't. You have to squint to see it a little bit.
Right.
I'm more of the mentality now. First round picks feel so valuable that, especially top end of the first round picks. If I'm picking the top 16 to 20. You got to be a surefire guy. I shouldn't have to squint to see it.
I think you got to look at it another way too. Sometimes you have to say to yourself, do we take this guy who we know is going to be really good in 3 years? We have somebody there, the Eagles and the Eagles, for example. So they take one of those tackles, right? Either Monroe Freeling or Itchen or guy, which I had his name in a second ago and it went away. In terms of saying it correctly. I know what I said it wasn't right. But if you know that your best tackle is going to retire in 2 years, do you take a guy like that even though you know he's not going to play right away? And that means you're going to seal up having another tackle there for the next 10.
Right. That's what the Eagles do. That they do that at a high level.
But their offensive line coach did leave. So that's certainly a different thing when you're starting to think about who you have coaching them. But I was thinking about the Hall of Fame thing. So one of the guys that I think could be that guy is Vega from Penn State as a guard. I watch him, and he reminds me so much of some of the really good guards that came through the Saints when they were good, right? Mm-hmm. So he reminds me of guys that are really strong inside, are flexible enough to pull. Jahari Evans is a great example. Athletic enough to pull, strong enough, great double teamer, gets to the second level really well. This is blasphemy, but Will Shields, right? He looks like that to me, except he's taller and he's stronger and he's bigger. I just don't see how he misses. And if he goes to Baltimore at 14,
Yeah.
All bets are. That's where he fits if he
Right.
goes to a place like that. So talking about fit and just a guy who's very talented. So that's the one I kind of.
And that's also one where, again, everyone would look at that draft pick and say, "How did the Ravens get away with this?" It's like, well,
Yeah.
you left a very clean, a very clean projection
Right.
to just slip. Pregnon's that way. He's not exactly like. I think
He's interesting. He's probably going to go to second round.
yeah. Vegas,
Yeah.
Vegas, I think the cleanest of, but
Yeah.
Pregnon's tape is really clean.
Yeah.
And I think he's a guy who is pretty plug and play as well. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're a team in the back end, I think this is one for me where if I'm the Texans and man, they've invested so much in the offensive line to try and fix it, and it just hasn't gone well. Just take the safe play. Go take Emmanuel Pregnon if he's out there.
Yeah, and I kind of think he ends up being a second rounder. And you can always obviously move around with your picks you have, but I think that out of all those guys, take the guy who is both athletic, who can do a lot of movement stuff, and I also like the guys who came from a skill position.
Yes.
So I'm reading through the beast, and they're like, this guy was a tight end in high school, or this guy was a running back in high school, this guy was a quarterback in high school, and ended up becoming an offensive lineman. Those are the guys that seem to me are the ones that have the better career.
Yeah, I like those guys a lot. I also like the guys rugby background, wrestling background,
yes.
any of that stuff.
Yeah.
You really like to see that. There's again, shifting real quick on the recruiting side of things.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
is a 2028 coming out of San Diego, 6'6", 340 pounds, former rugby player who's just kind of picking up football.
Yeah.
But all of it's there. You know what I mean? And all of it. And he's got some time now in high school to really develop and put it together.
Yeah.
But he's one who stalks on the rise. But yeah, you look for the rugby background, the wrestling background, some of that stuff. There's some of these guys in this. I think this is a great draft. Obviously, if you need centers, if you need interior linemen, there's some of these guys.
And they won't go to probably the third or fourth round
Right.
altogether.
Yeah, you can
I think
be
they're going to
patient.
go off the board. Once one goes off the board, they're going to
Yeah.
like Logan Jones goes, and everybody's going to be running after.
Time to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's mostly what happens. So let's talk about that running back position, which only has two guys in most people's top 100, and they're both off the same team, which is kind of funny. Who is and Emmett, obviously, if you want to name him, but is there one of those guys who is probably going to go in the fourth, fifth round, somewhere in there that you look at that you really like at running back?
I really like Jonah Coleman.
I do too.
I'm a Jonah Coleman
I'm a Jonah
guy.
Coleman guy. But you know what he doesn't have? Measurables.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the measurables, and they love the measurables. That's why Mike Washington is where he is now, because of what he ran, at the combine, when he jumped at the combine. They're like, okay, we like him. But Jonah Coleman, who only every time he touches the ball, he knocked guys
productive.
down. He made guys.
He's been productive. No,
yeah.
I'm a big fan of Coleman. I think further down in the group, the Jaden Ott thing's really weird to me.
Yeah,
Because-
that's almost like a coaching thing. Like he didn't get along with the coaching staff.
Yeah, and like the Cal tape's good enough.
It's
where
very good.
It's very good.
Yeah,
And
didn't he have like 1,300 yards?
right. And so like you wonder about, man, you have to like maybe that's something we'll have to look back on in a couple of years. That Cal team, Fernando Mendoza, quarterback, Jaden Ott at running back,
All four defensive backs
Isaiah.
drafted.
Yeah,
All four defensive backs drafted.
yeah,
Crazy.
Wilcox.
And they got another one this year.
Wilcox knows talent, but
Yeah.
just the fact that it's just a shame it didn't come together. But
Right.
I do wonder about a guy like him late, where maybe it just didn't work out at Oklahoma. Is it going to maybe work out elsewhere? And is it something where how does he handle this process? I don't really know. And then the other one for me, I really enjoyed Le'Veon Moss in high school, and then I've liked what I've seen from him at A&M. There's just some injury questions there, because of what he's. I mean, some of the injury stuff.
Yeah,
I remember there was some off-field stuff in high school. I think most of it has been like relatively clear. He stayed out of trouble in high school or in college for the most part. I don't think there's any major issues, but he's one. For me, at the end of the day, at running back, it's a position of can you maximize yardage? Can you run through people?
Yeah.
Are you physical?
Yeah.
And if you can't do those things, can you make people miss? I think that's what Emmett does at a high level, is make people miss in those short areas. I think Le'Veon's a guy you don't want to meet in that A gap or that B gap, for example. Like, it doesn't really matter who you are. You don't want to meet him head on. And if he's able to stay healthy, I think he's got a role for himself in the league.
The guy I like, and so I've been like this for the last 5 or 6 years. Give me the running back whose legs never stop, because that guy may drop to the 6th or 7th round, but when he gets to a team, he's going to beat out guys in front of him. Kalen Black's that guy for me.
Ooh,
I know not
yeah.
physical specimen, but how many times do you see him run through tackles? How many times do you see him bounce off of guys? Good contact balance. Coming from a program, obviously, that just won a national championship. And he's top 3, 4 running backs in pass pro. from basically what I've seen on tape.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's a guy, and he won't go until late in the draft, obviously. And I don't even know if his partner is even going to go. He may be undrafted free agent.
Oh, who that was it? Hemby?
Yeah, Roman Hemby.
Hemby,
yes. And Hemby, by the way, Hemby's a great pass pro guy. But I don't know if either one of them get drafted. But if you take one of those guys, you're going to be happy. You're going to look. It's like the Rutgers kid that we watched play, and now he played for the Bears this year.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Yes.
You watched him play in college, and you said, man, his legs never stop. He runs through everything, and he just kept falling in the draft and falling in the draft. And then, boom, he gets the opportunity to play when somebody gets hurt.
Yeah.
Basically a starter. So I'm a big fan of that as well. Tim Verghese joining us from Inside Nebraska, talking about the draft and going over some of these guys. Give me your sleeper wide receiver.
Ooh,
we've probably named 10 wide receivers. Who's your sleeper wide receiver?
We've definitely talked about a couple. I really like Jeremy Bernard. I think he's going to be useful. I think he's going to be productive.
Yeah, Jeremy. Yeah. So that's the guy that I have mocked for the Saints to take in the second round. They don't take a wide receiver in the first. I think he'll still be there.
I think he's really useful.
Yeah.
I think he's a good blocker. He creates separation. He's got some stuff where like, okay, he's not super well-rounded, but I think he's well-rounded enough to fit in a few different schemes. He's going to he's going to block his ass. Like, that's the big thing. Yeah. I think he's going to block. He's going to provide value in different ways. You can get him manufactured touches.
He's just solid.
Tough.
He's solid.
And he's tough. And that's the thing. In this draft, I think you go on solid guys. But like,
not going to make mistakes.
Yeah, this receiver group, I think, like, there's a trio of big bodies that I think are in the second, third, in Stribling, Chris Bell, Surratt. They're big bodies that can win. Then go in the second,
and you got to
third.
wait for Bell. Bell's coming off of the injury in November, right? That's Louisville, Chris Bell?
Yes.
So he got injured in November, and he's saying he thinks he'll be ready for training camp. But based off of the way I know about ACLs, I don't think I think he misses the first couple games. He starts in the pup, I think.
Okay.
So you got to kind of think about that. So what about a guy like Ted Hurst?
Ted's fun, and Ted
at Georgia State.
Yeah, Ted's really fun. Funny story. I started a franchise, an NCAA dynasty with Georgia State.
Oh, really?
And it was really just because I loved the quarterback room. I loved the offense they were running, and I liked the depth of the running back room. And I just wanted to run the option and be like, can I win in this conference with that? Ted turned into such a guy for me, and I was like, oh, let me watch this guy. Let me see what's going on. And then I just kept watching him as the season progressed, because obviously I got this game in the summer, was playing it through the summer. I was like, let me see what this Ted Hurst guy's all about. No, I really liked Ted Hurst. He's one for me, weirdly, despite what I think he's relatively clean despite being from a smaller school. Mm-hmm. I think fit's going to matter weirdly. Like, I think
he is not Keon Coleman. I need to have people understand that he is not Keon Coleman. Ted Hurst, go back, he ran a bunch of different routes. He wasn't just a fade guy. He ran routes. He's more athletic. His bend is good.
The bend and some
very
stop
good bend. Yeah, he can play in the league and not be a guy as limited as some of those guys who are normally. I think if he leaves Georgia State, does the 2 years at Valdosta, and he goes someplace like not even a good team. Let's just name a team that has a uniform that you look. Clemson,
Wake Forest, Wake Forest,
Florida State. But I mean, like a name school like that. Mm-hmm. Then all of a sudden, he's talked about as a much higher pick, just because he wasn't playing at Georgia State. The other guy I have is Bryce Lance. Every time I watch him play, he is the closest to the guy who could be your number two, but actually be the guy who gets the most targets.
Yeah,
I think he could be that guy, and he's athletic as hell, catches the ball, catches touchdowns. He can get up in the air and got really good hands. I don't think he has many drops.
He's one I wonder if he gets and it's not even playing the same position, but if he gets bumped down a little bit because of the brother and how that worked out, which would be silly, but it's just. But no, I really like Bryce Lance, and it took me a second to separate, but I really like Bryce Lance as a big. But there's a few, again, like I said, there's a few of these big bodies where Stribling's one who gets a lot of love. I think, and he started to kind of rise up these boards.
Yeah.
But in comparison, the two guys we just talked about feel like cleaner projections, based on what they've done, the routes they've run, and the offenses they've played. And both those guys, I think, did a little more than what Ole Miss has asked some of their receivers to do.
You have a sleeper rush in. We talked about how many good rush ins there are.
Ooh.
It looks like that there are about, and I can check the beats, I think there are about 17 draftable pure rush ins. Not guys that are questionable defensive end to rush in. Edge rushers, he He has 270 edge rushers that he's got. 270 of them. And I believe it's something like 17 to 20 of them are draftable guys. Is there somebody out of those guys that you stand up and you go, okay, he's kind of a sleeper a little bit later, who I like?
Gabe Jackas. I hope I'm saying that right.
Illinois? Yeah.
He's super clean for me.
He's getting mocked to the Saints in the second round by a lot of people. Yeah.
Okay. He's one for me in like that, the mid, second tier, third round, super clean projection from him. And then the two, we talked about this earlier about like there's some edge lower on the board that I don't know why they're not getting the love. Jayshawn Barham's one for me. I don't know why he's getting enough love.
He looks like he's about the 5th, 6th rounder.
Disruptive as heck. Yeah. And like, look, if you're...
Where does he play, though? Where does he play?
I think he plays edge.
So you think he's in a 4-3, he is a defensive end? Or you're saying he's a 3-4, he's a stand-up 4 linebacker?
I think he's a stand-up 4 linebacker.
So he's a linebacker. So I agree that he's a linebacker. I think he's not as big as we think he is. Or take it back. I don't think he plays as big.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
That's a good way to
put it.
So
he almost plays more like he's a linebacker.
And I wonder about that. I wonder about that because this was his first year.
Yes,
rushing off the edge.
Exactly, which makes a big difference. Yeah.
But that's where I wonder. There's some of these different tiers in this draft. He's one. If you're a team that's in on Arvell Reese, and you're not. I think teams in the top 5 pretty much are the teams that are in on Arvell Reese.
Sure, yeah.
If you miss and you're like, I want to get someone like that though. Barham, again, has some linebacker experience, has some edge, can move around a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think both of those guys, they're better fits at edge.
Yeah.
Barham's one that I don't get, and one that even confuses.
He's a second move, by the way, Barham does.
Yeah, the one that confuses me even more, and I think you have to toss this last year out the window with him, Danny Dennis Sutton.
Oh, well, see, Danny is who he is. He's not electric. He is just a solid player who plays the run better than most rush ends. And I don't think he's going to get you a ton of pressures at the next level.
It's the ability to set the and the run.
I like him.
Stuff where I think he's just going to be solid, and I think he's someone that is maybe getting bumped. I don't know why he's getting bumped down, but I just think again in a draft where there are some of these, you have guys again like Ruben's. I have no concerns with Ruben despite him being an anomaly, but you have those anomalies in this draft. You have some of these guys. Malachi Lawrence is a guy for me where I wonder about him against power rushers. I wonder about his size.
I haven't missed one of my guys. Yeah.
I like him. Mm-hmm. I think he's athletic. I think he's quick. Yeah. I worry about the ability to turn speed to power and the ability to power rush and consistently set an edge at the next level if he can't win with just athleticism alone. And that's for that reason, I think guys like Gabe, like Danny, even to some extent like Barham, who are a little more like well-rounded, I think, in that capacity, can set the edge and play with that physicality that you want. I like those guys. And Danny,
Malachi's your fourth. He's your 4th rusher.
Yes,
that's a good way to in put the league. He's gonna be your 4th rusher.
That's a good way to put it. Do you wonder about him as an outside linebacker? Because I think he's
tall. I don't know how tall he is, but he's so long. I wonder about him a little bit.
And he had some reps dropping into coverage where it's like, oh, okay, like he can do it. He didn't look awful. Like he didn't look like he can move his feet.
No, he can definitely. He's athletic enough. You see him run at the combine.
He's athletic enough. So I do wonder about him as like as a stand-up outside linebacker.
Yeah. The other guy that I really like is Romello Height.
Yeah.
If you turn on Texas Tech and you're turning like, okay, I'm going to watch David Bailey, the first person that jumps out is Rodriguez. Next person drops off is Romello Height. Then it's David Bailey. I know David Bailey put the big numbers up, but he's just not my flavor.
Not at all.
He is not my flavor.
We're very much in alignment.
I don't know what it is about him. He's just not my flavor.
I've just kind of, I've come to he's going to go top 5. I just have to accept it.
He probably goes 3 or 4. Yeah.
Right. And I've come to terms with that, but he's just not my style of like I hate the Will Anderson comps with him.
No, he is not Will Anderson.
Such a better player.
He's not Will Anderson.
Will Anderson's such a better player. And
Will Anderson as a freshman had more of that you want from that position.
Right.
Than David Bailey had by the time he got to be in his 5th year senior.
And David, it hasn't mattered to this point. And that's the whole thing. It hasn't mattered to this point. But man, he can't bend. Like he can't bend. And like
well, that's what scares you about Falk.
Yeah.
That's why he's got to move inside. But obviously, the size
wise. But Falk, I think Falk isn't.
He can move
Falk
inside.
isn't bendy in the sense as like an edge rusher, but I think he's like I don't even know the best way, but like some body elasticity to him where like he can maintain forward momentum even when he's getting like jostled around a bit eating, and that's why like again a move to inside is probably better. But like while he may not have the ankle bend you want, I think he's a bendy, malleable type player in that sense.
I was looking to see how many draftable guys So he's got basically 30 draftable guys who are rush ins, right? And he has Danny Dennis Sutton at his 13th edge. Jackus is at the 11th edge. So you're talking about guys who are past the top 10 rush ins who we both like. You know, guys that height is 15. I'm telling you, Romello Height is as good as Bailey. He just doesn't have the name or the big plays as Bailey.
Have you watched the Georgia Tech tape with him?
Oh, I had to because I watched all the Georgia Tech offensive line tape.
Because I enjoyed as in when he was there.
Oh no.
Before he transferred in.
Oh, okay.
He was a guy that I had.
I didn't know where he came from.
I thought he was actually going to be the guy that had the buzz that Bailey did, just
Yeah.
off of what we
Who
had
got
seen.
more money?
I think Bailey did.
Bailey did.
I
Okay.
think Bailey did.
I
But
think that
based on what
matters.
we had seen at the because that was the thing with Bailey at the college level, I think he can win pretty consistently, especially in the Big 12 where the tackles he's going up against. Yeah, come on. I mean, and that's part of the thing for me with the Bailey evaluation is you look at some of the tackles he's going up against, and it's like, I just like congrats, you beat this random Big 12 offensive tackle. That guy's not even. That's not guy's not going to get drafted. That's not the type of talent you're going to play at the next level. That guy. Turned like as soon as you got a beat on him. That guy fully just let out his gate. You know what I mean? That's not going to happen in the league. And so that's my thing with Bailey. And you can't put that against him. You play who you play.
Yeah, I'm worried he drops to 8 in the Saints taking.
And there's some guy
because he fits their body style they like.
And he's one when I wonder about Bailey and some of those guys on that line. How much do they benefit off just playing alongside each other? You know,
sure.
I thought,
no doubt.
Lee Hunter, some of those guys on the interior.
Well, same thing with Bain and Mestor, right?
Right. And Bain, I think. Bain, there's a little more across not just the college career, but like the high school career.
Yeah.
There's enough production in there where I think you can say, okay, this is going to translate. I think even with the size anomaly, that's my question with Mesidor, though. You were working off a destroyer essentially in Ruben Bain. Like you
were an adult man.
Yes.
Where you were going against kids that are probably 19 or 20.
Yeah. Like
that makes a difference. Yeah. Is there a linebacker that jumps out at you that you say, out of the top? Again, I said there's probably 3 linebackers who most people would say if there was going to be first rounders, it'd be them, and then that's about it. There's just not a lot that people consider to be first rounders after Sonny Styles, and then Rodriguez. And then, who's the Georgia kid?
C.J. Allen.
Yeah, C.J. Allen. That's it. That's all you got. So is there somebody else in that group that you look at?
I'm higher on Kyle Lewis.
Kyle Lewis. Oh my God. He's a linebacker in a safety's body who runs like a corner.
He's one
He's so athletic.
If you're drafting, and I say this as someone, I covered Harold Perkins. I was the first media member to talk to Harold Perkins.
Yeah.
I've covered Harold Perkins' entire career.
Yeah.
I love that kid. If you're drafting a linebacker for football reasons that you want to contribute day one, and it's Kyle Lewis and Harold Perkins on the board, you take Kyle Lewis. I think if you're taking it, one just has better instincts, sees it better right now.
Yeah.
My question with Lewis would be, I really enjoyed just watching Pitt's defense this year because of the linebacker play they got. How much was it benefiting off of what guys up front are doing for them? I mean, they had a defensive tackle transfer out to Pitt. They had Rasheem Biles transfer down to Texas. Like, how much is it for him benefiting off of cleaner pictures set up by guys around?
I watched Kyle Lewis at the Senior Bowl. He can cover. He can turn and run. I know he's not going to beat off a guard. Beat off a guard, that's a horrible way to say it. I know he's not going to take on a guard and have to be able to dislodge him. I get that. But
I don't think he's going to be asked to do that, though.
When he's free, so maybe you play him as a joker. Maybe he is your joker. Yeah, maybe he's your heavy dime.
Yeah, he's a guy who's like a heavy dime.
Yeah.
But I like him a lot. I think Anthony Hill Jr. is another one that, again, he's right in there in that second, third group. Another one I've seen from sophomore year of high school, and just always been productive. The funny thing with him is, and it's funny how the questions coming out of high school mirror some of the questions we have coming out of college.
Sure.
With Anthony, the question with him was, he's such a good pass rusher. Could we just slot him down there? And it's like, well, he's not big enough for that. In the long-term projection, he actually is good enough at linebacker. And the thing with Anthony, you need to keep, I think, is worth keeping in mind. And this is, again, context is picked up from being around him as a high school prospect. He put himself on the 7-on-7 circuit as a junior and senior when he was pretty much already an established recruit.
Yeah.
Knowing it would make him look bad because he wanted to get reps dropping. Wanted to get reps sinking into coverage and sticking in man against some of the running backs and some of this, just because he wanted that action. And you saw the benefit of that at the next level. I think he's a much cleaner projection now coming out of college.
Yeah.
But I think the stuff he still does, he's someone who provides value as a rusher because he does that. I think he's got good pass rush instincts as a green dog, and the question I think with Anthony is going to be, what this looks like when he's not, when can he be more than just a see ball, get ball kind of guy? Because I think he's got some good instincts. I think we've seen that from him. But at Texas, he always felt like he was kind of a see ball, get ball.
So their schools. Penn State was one of them. You mentioned Sutton. LSU's another one, and Texas is another one. I think players are better when they come out of those programs. I think that you look at them and you say, okay, here's where I think their ceiling is. But when they go to the league, it's a higher ceiling than you think. I know I've been a Penn State fan since I was a little kid. I don't know how many times guys at Penn State were okay. They got to the league and they were so much better.
Yeah.
Obviously, LSU has seen that with the third-year sophomore guys.
This is a group of LSU guys where we're going to have some. We already have questions about Brian Kelly and what he was doing there.
Right.
I think we're going to really have some questions because we're talking about we moved past quarterback real quick, but I think Nussmeier is going to have a shot.
That's my sleeper guy. Because he could be a first. If he didn't have that, did you see? He's got assists on his spinal column that's causing the pain in the abdominal area, which is weird. And that's what caused him to play the way he did. He's athletic. He can run. He's got a bigger arm as anybody.
If that's taken care of, this last year was weird. Go turn on the other stuff.
Oh, hell yeah.
Keep in mind that he's a son of an NFL coach.
Yep.
He knows his game at a high level. I think he's got the mentality for this. I think he's wired the right way. Yeah. And he's a guy that I think is going to be like I think he's going to find himself on a second contract.
Yeah, Nussmeier is my sleeper. My linebacker is Josiah Trotter. He just turned 21. We know what his family is. We know how athletic they are. And this is a guy who wants to meet you in the hole. He wants to hit you, and he's only 21.
He's much better than his brother.
He's good. He's going to be a hell of a player. I already went over. So who's the guy that on offensive line that you would never take? Ooh. Which one of these offensive linemen you're like, nope, I'm out on him. I'm not taking him.
I think I'm just out on Lomu, unfortunately.
Because he is mainly just a pass pro guy and he doesn't have a lot of run reps. Well, he's got run reps, but he's not as dominant in runs.
I don't love, anytime we're at this point in the stage in their career and you're like, well, you have to teach that guy to be physical or you got to push that guy to be a little more physical. Yeah. I'm just like, I'll let someone else do that personally. Right. Look,
no, I understand.
There's a lot to love in the frame and the athleticism. Like, again, you when you build offensive tackles in a lab, that's somewhat what they look like. Sure. But I think the lack of physicality with him is something I'm just like, I just don't love. And then I think I'll let someone else roll the dice with the big body Alabama offensive tackle.
With Kaleb Proctor?
Yeah, because we've seen
where he's going to play, right? Because first of all, the Alabama coaching has fallen off.
Oh, yeah.
Let's all just say that. Because we watch Pritchard come in here, and in about 6 games, all of a sudden look like a decent left tackle in the Big Ten.
I think they've had...
Same thing with him.
It goes beyond this current era. I think it goes into... And this is a conversation I've had with evaluators and some of my friends in the scouting industry and recruiting industry too. I think the very end of Saban's career, or towards the back end of Saban's career, going into this, they were making some very poor O-line evals in terms of what they were prioritizing and what they were overlooking in terms of getting guys in. I think you've seen that kind of extend to the Saban tree. It's part of the reason why Texas has had such problems blocking for Arch Manning, who had a really good end to the season. And I got some pushback when I said he's my QB1 next year, cleanly. And I think he's going to be my Heisman favorite next year, cleanly.
Right. I heard you say that. I'm not a huge fan of that.
I get it, but
yeah, I've been watching him since he was a freshman in high school. They're just things he doesn't do well. And I don't know if he'll ever be able to do them.
But I thought there was enough in the last few games of this last year where I was like, okay, yeah, I see.
He's kind of a bitch.
Somewhat.
He's kind of a bitch.
Somewhat.
And I don't know how that gets received when you got to go in those meeting rooms and you got to talk to those guys. They got to talk to you about being their number one quarterback and being the leader of the team. And you're kind of a bitch. I don't know. It worries me.
And I, especially next year in the draft that's going to have all those different quarterbacks, he may just...
Dude, week one, he's got to come out playing.
Yeah.
He's got to come out playing like you're saying he should be.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't, all the question marks again on him. And he doesn't handle that very well, I don't think.
No doubt.
I think he reads his clippings and he doesn't handle that stuff very well, and it made him worse. Does he have the skills? I'm not saying he doesn't have the skills. He's obviously got the skills. I just don't believe that it's not in him. And his dad is the jokester. He's not the guy. He's not Eli. He's not Peyton. He's the jokester guy. He's the funny guy everybody loves.
Yeah.
But is he the guy you wanted to, at some point, draft? I know his neck was bad at Ole Miss and is why he had to stop playing. He wasn't going to be in the league, and that's his dad. So I don't.
Yeah,
I hope he does fine.
But like, it's just more to the point of like when you like the linemen that Texas have that are going to be hits. And this year it's Devin Campbell, DJ Campbell, and that was a guy. I remember that recruitment. Texas had to be not goaded, but had to be pushed into offering and really pursuing that guy because they would just had eyes on different body types and different things. It's like, well, no, this is a big body who's also athletic, and like watch what happens when you put some pounds on him. The other guy, Trevor Gooseby, they waited to offer Gooseby and. Again, it was just a thing of, look, you got to develop him a little bit, but this is a big body who plays basketball, like a really good athlete who we're maybe talking about him as one of these first round tackles if he declares this year.
Right.
I get why you went back. I understand it.
Yeah. It makes sense to go back now and get the snaps.
Yeah, no doubt.
Get your snaps now. Still get money. Let me go over a few guys before we get out of here.
Go ahead.
Where do you think Emmett goes? Emmett Johnson. Where do you think he goes?
Where or when?
When? Like what part? You think does he sneak into the third round? Or is he, most people have him at about 112 to 140 in terms of draft position. So into the third round, beginning of the fourth round?
I think he sneaks into the third just because I think I'm banking on Price being off the board in the second and maybe another back. Maybe it's Emmett. But
Mike Washington?
Maybe it's a Mike Washington. But yeah,
Do you think Emmett's the fourth back?
I think Emmett's the third or fourth back off the board.
Okay. Yeah, I have him. I think he's the fifth.
He's one, obviously, where fifth's going to matter. Not just on his end, but I think where he goes is going to be so dependent on what team's on the board and how much some of these teams, because there's some teams that I think are just going to be completely out on Emmett and his running style, but I think there's some teams that's their guy.
Someone be out on the speed. There are some teams that have a speed mark. They're saying we don't take anybody who's slower than this. Detroit is where he needs to be. He needs to be the second guy behind Jahmyr Gibbs. Does Deshaun Singleton get drafted?
I think so.
Really?
And for me,
in all my mocks, he hasn't been getting drafted.
For him, the fact that he's one in the safety group that, again, we talked about some of these big safeties that don't, like, there's something they don't do well. And for Singleton, the thing is, I don't, at the next level, like how much is it going to look like? How clean is it going to be if he's got to be your deep third safety?
Right.
But coming downhill with the size he has, and I think he's tested well enough.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he's not getting the buzz because I just figured someone would fall in love with the big body safety who can hit and can do a lot of different things and played a few different roles.
And he's 24, I believe.
He's older. Yeah, that's
nothing. And then at the Senior Bowl, he came downhill and got ran over by a running back. And I wonder how much they looked at that. And he had a good combine and everything. He and Sierra Wright, I believe, should both be drafted. I just wonder if they, with so much talent in this draft that aren't quarterbacks and running backs, I wonder
especially
if they
their two positions.
Yeah.
And that's but I do wonder about, on that note, like with Sierra, because he does everything well, I think he's capable enough.
He's not very good in the slot. That's what the numbers show.
To hit.
That he struggled in the slot playing. I
think something he mentioned in the post draft when we talked to him at Pro Day was that versatility actually, like him playing that while teams didn't love it necessarily.
Yeah.
It did show him that he can play a few different positions.
Okay.
And I think it sold some teams on his versatility. But I do think we'd be talking about him a lot more if he stuck at outside corner because
you play a man corner someplace.
Yeah, and he's a man. Like he's a man corner.
Yeah,
he's a man corner.
Doing,
another corner I really like is Manny Muhammad.
Muhammad
out of Texas. He's another one. Get him into a place.
That's not Moose's kid, is it? Is it?
No.
Okay, that's not.
No. But he's one.
What happened to Moose's kid? He came to Nebraska. He got recruited. Played wide receiver.
Yeah, he was at.
Where did he end up?
He was at A&M when I was at A&M.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was at A&M when I was
came to Nebraska
A&M.
and he came and visited, and I remember talking to Scott Frost and Mushin was there. And,
so funny story that it was either the year I was on the A&M beat or the year afterwards.
Yeah.
But no, it was the year I was on it because Jimbo got fired that year. But they got into it because it was cooler. They were playing in a cool weather, and Moose was wearing sleeves.
Oh.
And Jimbo told him no sleeves.
Yeah.
And then the offense stunk, and they were like, "Well, why wasn't our best or our second best receiver out there? It was Anaya Smith and him. And why wasn't Moose out there?" And then the very next game, Moose went off for like 100 yards, 100 yards or something.
That's funny.
But no, Malik's a guy who was playing someone out of position in what PK was asking him to do down in Texas.
Yeah.
He's a guy, he wants to live on the island. He wants to be in press man.
Sure.
He wants to utilize the length he has. His whole career just been steady Eddie, super, super consistent corner. been that tough soldier who's worked through some tough reps and and taken the hit when he's playing off coverage in Texas. That's not what he wants to do. But he's the best corner out there, so he's doing all of that stuff, and he's taken some flack for things, but he's stayed very consistent. I think he's super consistent. I think he's a guy. If it's going to matter, but if you can get him into a man scheme, he's a guy I really like in this corner group.
Other names I want to mention before we get out of here. Keionte Scott, I think is going to be a really good player in the league. All he does is make big plays.
Yeah.
And the ball finds his hands all the time. Kaleb Proctor, small school guy, Southeast Louisiana. Been watching him because I know that the Saints need to draft a defensive lineman. I don't think they're going to do that in the first 3 or 4 rounds.
A couple of those smaller D linemen.
Yeah, there's a couple guys like that.
Him, Landon Robinson, Zane Durant, all small.
One of those guys had a really good East-West Shrine game. I remember.
I think it was Landon. Landon.
And then who's the day 3 quarterback? Has a longer career? Gronowski, Altmyer, Klubnik, or Haynes King?
Give me Altmyer.
Really?
Give me Altmyer.
Because of just the way he plays and his mobility?
Haynes is going to make – Haynes is interesting. I think it's just a tick still too slow.
He's going to be a really good USFL quarterback.
He's going to be a really good coach. He's going to go he's going to go back to Longview, step in for his dad, and be a heck of a coach.
Definitely coach too. Yeah. I think Gronowski's going to last in the league for a long time.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be a 2 that's going to get a chance to play every now and then, and he's going to be okay when he plays. Smart winner, obviously. The mobility they'll love. And he just got stuck in an offense at Iowa that just it's not a great offense.
Yeah.
It just wasn't. I mean, who are you throwing the ball to?
Yeah. You know what, the safety I really like, and it took me going back on some older tape with him because it was another one where I love Zakee Whitley.
Who's he from?
Zakee Wheatley from Penn State.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I really like him. A bigger body safety again.
He's the other safety from Penn State. That's what I mean.
He can hit, and he's got ball skills. And that's something that, again, he was one I felt I didn't love where they had him playing this year at Penn State, but the older tape, the college football playoff tape from last year, some of that stuff's really good with him. I've
not really looked at him much.
He's fun. He's really fun, and I'm really fascinated by where he ultimately stacks up, because for me, this is a safety group.
That's not Tyrone's kid, is it?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. No, but
I'm at that age now where every kid has a last name of somebody who played back then. I think he's his kid. Okay.
But I like Keionte Scott too. He's just another one. He's older, isn't he? He's like 24.
Yeah, he
25 when he starts.
He might be 25.
He's older. It doesn't matter for me.
He just played really well when it became big time. When they got into the playoff, he just made all kinds of plays.
Right. And age for me, again, it's so much in the league is
first, second contract.
What are you looking for? Are you looking for value in the first contract? Are you looking for value in this? Because look, for a 25-year-old, you're not going to get a whole lot of value maybe on that second contract.
Yeah.
But that first contract
come in and start for you.
The first contract is going to be really valuable.
Yep.
I'm an AJ Halsey guy. He was the one I was banging the table for in high school. No joke. I was begging Houston. I was begging Texas Tech, all these different programs. He ended up at New Mexico State.
Yeah, I remember,
Transferred around, and I remember texting a personnel guy I knew at LSU once they got him. And I was like, look, you could have just had him. I sent him to you guys years ago, and I had him. The thing with AJ at the next level is just going to be he's him and Torian York, not in the same sense, because I think AJ's big enough where he's able to play well.
Yeah.
Both those players, very instinctual, as instinctual as you find. Probably two of the better minds in terms of reading the game from the linebacker and safety level that you find. Torian's just too small, unfortunately, so he's always going to be a beat off just because he doesn't have the length. It's not just being small, he doesn't have length, his arms are short. AJ, I think he's got capable size and is going to be fine, but he's on the shorter end too. And you just wonder a little bit about that when you're not an elite athlete and you're kind of you're an instinctual guy who's somewhat undersized or right around average size. Just wondered a little bit about that. But I do like him a lot.
The Halsey thing you said his name, I was like, he's 5'11" and 5'8". He's 215. So I mean, he ran.
Where's the wingspan at? Where did the wingspan end up?
His wing's 75 and 3/8. It's really good.
Yeah.
He's got big hands. He's got arm length is 30 and 7/8, which is fine for his position. But he's just not a big guy.
Right.
And so the question is, where did they decide to play him, and how is he besides on special teams? I know he's gonna be great on special teams, but how does he play everywhere else? By the way, he's only 22, even though it feels like he's been around forever. So. Yeah,
he was young in high school too. I think it was part of the thing with him too was he was young. But like a ball hawk. I mean, he had 4 pick sixes, I think, as a senior, in high school.
Yeah,
just always been instinctual.
Well, I'm always fascinated by forced fumbles and guys that have forced fumbles and put up big numbers. He's not one of them, but he did have 8 pass defended in 24, and then 4 more in 25, and 8 total interceptions. those 2 years, 24 and 25.
Yeah.
So he's a ball hawk.
And a later round safety for me is Dalton Johnson from Arizona. Again, Katie kid from Houston. Got to see him in high school. Didn't expect all of this. I thought he was going to be a pretty productive player.
Yeah.
I didn't expect him to have the career he's had. I think he's been productive enough. He's another one for me. Just wonder a little bit that the Arizona and Washington secondaries are so difficult sometimes because there's enough talent in there where you wonder just what is that going to look like at the what is it when how much of it is he benefiting off of everyone else doing their job where he can play free?
Yeah.
How much is he benefiting from that guy's making him look good, whatever that looks like. So I need to watch both of those secondaries a little more before the draft and leading up to it. But from following Johnson's career and rewatching him for this, I like him as a late round guy. I think he's pretty just again solid.
It's gonna be a fun Thursday night. We kind of went over the numbers, and a lot of rush-ins are gonna go. A lot of offensive linemen, a lot of wide receivers. Don't go if you're looking for quarterbacks. You're not gonna find a bunch of them there. Looking for running backs, you're gonna find one.
Maybe
running
a trade.
back, so.
You think we see any quarterback trades?
Somebody trading back into the first round to
no,
take
I mean
Ty
like
Simpson?
I mean just as a result of the draft.
The only person I think that might get traded is Spencer Rattler.
Okay,
I could see him getting traded. I've heard.
I wonder
rumors
about Anthony Richardson. I don't know if it happens around the draft, but I wonder about him.
Yeah, and
too.
he's like who? What would you be giving for that?
I don't know. I wouldn't give up a draft pick.
Do you know what my scouting report was for him? My buddy Eric always makes fun of it. Sometimes when he threw the ball, I wasn't sure if he was left or right-handed. That was my scouting report for him because I was like, what is he doing when that throw? I don't get that. It bounced 5 yards from the guy he was throwing it to. I don't get it. So it's gonna be a fun draft. I appreciate you taking the time. It was fun chatting about this and going over it. So special thanks, of course, to Tim Verghese from Inside Nebraska. Follow all his work, the portal. And the scouting, and then all the back to normal recruiting. We call it normal recruiting as well, and visits and all that stuff. So check out that as well. Is May going to be a busy month?
May's going to be pretty quiet, but it's going to be a lot of OVs lining up. June's going to be
crazy.
Crazy. Okay. We've got OVs. We're going to have camps on campus. Battle of the Boneyard returns. You're going to see commitments start to line up here. But yeah, we're in a quiet stretch right now, which is nice. Gives me some time to. Dive in on stuff like this
draft.
and,
no
and
doubt
dive
about
into the
that.
draft.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining.
Yeah, no doubt. Also appreciate Kaleb for producing the show as well. Stable Great for putting the video together. Michael Allen as well. And, of course, our sponsor, Bud Light, making it easy to drink, easy to enjoy, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing. Enjoy your Bud Light. If you're watching us on YouTube, like and subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple, same thing as well. Follow Tim, of course, in all of his social media platforms as well. We'll be back next week with more Let It Fly.